That Floyd is a real chud pleaser. Oh, Gen Z developers don't code like you think. And no, this isn't a kids these days are lazy video, and it's also not a Gen Z is saving tech video either. What's actually happening is way more boring and way more interesting. There's this new idea floating around called vibe coding. Fewer specs, fewer meetings, less obsessing over perfect architecture. More shipping, more intuition, more we'll fix it later. And depending on who you ask, this is either the future of software or the beginning of the end. Older developers see it as sloppy. Managers see it as risky. Twitter sees it as a culture war. But if you zoom out, this isn't really about Gen Z after all. It's about how software jobs have quietly changed, how tools like AI are reshaping the work, and why the incentives today reward speed and vibes more than textbook correctness. So in this video, I want to talk about what vibe coding actually is, why younger developers are leaning into it, and why it makes some people furious, and why, honestly, it kind of makes sense given the world we're in right now. I don't know, just observations. So I'm just going to look at a couple tweets right now. Mom, how did we get so rich? Your father and I lived in the era of the $200 Claude Code Max plan. And whenever it comes to this, I feel like there's been a few key moments in life over the past couple decades, and this is one of them. Think back to things like Bitcoin, the dot-com boom, just to name a couple. I feel like this is definitely the next thing. You know, whenever AI first came out, I thought it was just going to be the next buzzword. I remember it was probably around my second job where AI was kind of becoming pervasive to every new idea that executives wanted to introduce into what's coming next in Q2. And I just kind of wrote it off as just, they just see a shiny new thing and they want to take advantage of it so the company looks good. But as shit has really progressed, I've kind of seen no, this is actually final. This is actually the future. And I'll say, full disclosure, I'm kind of in an advantageous and unadvantageous position whenever it comes to this because I have some pretty good technical skill, but my biggest skill is in database retrieval, so SQL, stuff like that. And I have some light web dev experience, some light, Java, C++, stuff like that. But I was never a super cracked coder, so I really don't experience the kind of mini ego death that I feel like a lot of seasoned software developers are going through right now. It's kind of just damn, I really didn't spend time, kind of honing my skills to become a top 10% whenever it comes to the skill. And I feel like I'm kind of being rewarded for that, I use Claude Sonnet 4.5, and I don't even know if that's the best one. I think there's another one out there. I forgot the name of it, but I know that Claude is, in my opinion, the best one out right now. But I literally use that shit every day, and it makes me basically a god in my office because I'm at a medium-sized company. And they give me a request. I put the request into Claude Sonnet 4.5, and it just does it. Now, my programming skills, it definitely gives me some insight when it comes to debugging and correcting what may be wrong whenever there's gaps, knowing how to prompt, quote-unquote prompt engineering, which is basically just a glorified Google search in my mind, just knowing how to ask something right. But also, there definitely is something to, if you're not really into programming, you really don't know what you don't know. You don't know things about test servers, deploying stuff to live, all that mumbo jumbo. And, I'm not saying I'm a beast at that, but I'm definitely better than the average bear. And Claude Sonnet 4.5 definitely puts me on steroids whenever it comes to that. I'm doing things that I really should not be doing. So it's really remarkable how this new thing out there is giving people like me it's kind of like bridging that gap, and it's really more about building solutions, solving problems now more than the actual art of coding. Next thing, it's like the picture of that guy in the movie theater or whatever. I forgot what this guy's from, but it's like watching Claude code work, acting like you know what it's doing. And this is honestly so relatable, and it's actually pretty clutch as it pertains to my philosophy at work of looking busy. I mean, shit is flashing on the screen. It's just like, dude, people think I am like doing some 3D chess when I'm really just watching Claude do all my work for me. It's kind of crazy how stuff is really flipped nowadays. Quote tweeting it from, I don't know if this is like a software dev e-girl. You know, I kind of get, you know, in the tech space, it's pretty exploitable online. Like if you're a decent girl, then you could kind of like take over. Just look at any girl in San Francisco's Hinge profile, and they're definitely hitting that cap. But somebody named Madison Kana, and she put out this tweet that went semi-viral. It said basically, as a software engineer, I feel a real loss of identity right now. For a long time, I defined myself in part by the act of writing code. The pride in a hard-earned solution was part of who I was. Now I watch AI accomplish in seconds what took me hours. I find myself caught between relief and mourning, awe and anxiety. The craft that shaped me is suddenly eclipsed by a machine. Who am I now? That is kind of crazy, you know. I don't know if she's just engagement posting, you know, like clip farming low-key a little bit. But, I mean, I feel like this is a sentiment that a lot of people are feeling right now. And, it is kind of weird to observe it from my position, and I wonder how people feel whenever they have no experience in there watching stuff like this. You know, I think back to the meme where it was just like, oh, learn to code. It was like something about truckers losing their job and stuff like that. I bet the people who hated that shit feel so vindicated right now. They're like, ha ha, ha ha, you spent all this time telling us to learn how to code, and now you have to learn how to prompt, or you're going to be flipping burgers, baby. That is kind of crazy. And that dude said, the lost people are feeling is real. Identifying with one's craft has been the hallmark of some of the greatest. And there's something sacred in mastering a skill. That is true. That is true. Like, you're definitely losing something if you're just letting Claude do everything, because there's just little things that AI is still not good enough to just completely take over. But, I mean, imagine that day whenever it is. I mean, this tweet's going to be irrelevant. But fuck it, we ball. Oh, excuse me. But this is going to hit everyone who found meaning in only labor. And it's revealing something already broken. Work was supposed to be a means to an end. Meaning should come from what you're working for. Family, community, something beyond yourself. Somewhere along the way, we substituted the tool for the purpose. The new tool is being automated, and there's nothing underneath for a lot of people. People should ask themselves, what was the work for? Some will rediscover what matters. Some will realize they never built those things. The ones who answer, who are you, with, I'm a father, instead of, I am my job title, won't even understand what everyone else is panicking about. They built on something that can't be automated. If the purpose was real, it's there. If it wasn't, now you know. Painful, but not too late. Okay, as I read that, I definitely was getting some TradCon vibes from that. Seems a little bit performative, but there's some truth in there. There's definitely a lesson in that. Next thing, breaking. Silicon Valley insiders believe this AI boom is their last chance to get rich before AI takes over high-paying jobs, floods the market with cheap goods, and makes traditional money less useful. Shit. I don't know about that one, Chief. Like, I feel like the powers that be, whoever you think that is, they're not going to take this one lying down. I'll just say that. There's definitely going to be some sort of pushback in the form of government regulation. But at the same time, I feel like that the counter to that is, dude, if the U.S. isn't the one pioneering this new thing that we have, other countries are going to take that role. And one thing about the U.S., we may feel like that we're the moral police, but also, shit, if China's going to do it, if Russia's going to do it, if another superpower is going to do it, we're going to do it as well. And honestly, I can't say that that's wrong. They see frantic fundraising, crazy valuations, and big bets on AI as urgent moves. They believe that once AGI soon shows up, most people's jobs and incomes will vanish. Wealth will go to those who control the AI and data, and everyone else might rely on the UBI. Oh, we got an Andrew Yang head over here, and shared resources. They're thinking grab assets and company stakes now or miss out forever. I don't know. I'm not sure we're that close to this society, TBH. The legacy system is definitely going to push back in a big way. I thought this tweet was very interesting. I love tweets like this. I'm a long-term Twitter head. I've been on this shit since 2011. I was like very young. I was probably in middle school back then. So definitely Twitter and YouTube raised me. So I could recognize a banger tweet when I see a banger tweet. And this one from a guy named Tyler Alterman is pretty interesting. He says, the past 75 years are very strange. We invented esoteric languages so that a class of wizards, quote unquote coders, could ask electric rocks to do tasks for us. Then it turned out that it was increasingly more efficient to have the electric rocks speak to themselves in these esoteric languages, and for the wizard class just to start speaking to them in plain English. Yeah, that's kind of mind-blowing whenever you think about it. Like, it's kind of a self-solving loop. I guess that's the whole point of AI. I don't know if a lot of people know this may be old news, but did you know whenever you do the little CAPTCHA, like the little annoying thing whenever you're trying to, log in on your X-Hamster account or whatever you like, and it makes you pick like, oh, which one of these is like a stoplight or whatever. Whenever you click that, you're actually training AI. And I think that's the whole point of the term singularity. Not to sound like Joe Rogan, but, I definitely think that we are reaching that in some way. I do think it's a little bit beefed up the way people talk about it, but humans and technology, I feel like just how we're God's creation, technology is our creation. That's one thing that really made me gravitate towards tech in that whole space whenever I was in college. Even though I resisted it so long, that's what my dad did. That's kind of what my mom does. I was just like, this really is an interesting space. And you could have a cool email job where you could just sit back, swipe on Hinge while you're working some days. This has been said 1,000 times before, but allow me to add my own voice. The era of humans writing code is over. Disturbing for those of us who identify as software engineers, but no less true. That's not to say software engineers don't have work to do, but writing syntax directly is not it. Yeah, I mean, it's really not, and it's easy for me to say because I was never an expert at that skill. Like, I'm better than your average bear. Like, I'm pretty decent at coding. Like, I can understand syntax if you give me like a couple days to really study it. But this is kind of moving us from that and really showing people that the goal should be building solutions instead of just writing code. I know that's like nails on the chalkboard for trad coders, I'll call them out there, but it's just true. And it's kind of just like sink or swim at this point, it seems like. We'll see what comes up. And just to cap this off, if you're not Claude coding until your eyes bleed every night, you're on the express train to the permanent underclass. This is a bit melodramatic, but there's definitely some truth to it. You definitely have to know what you're doing. You can't just put out a random thing because you're going to create something that really isn't going to be meaningful and move your needle in the right direction in your business. You kind of have to be focused, so maybe that's the role for coders and experienced engineers now, kind of knowing what to build, and shit, that's going to be the little lane that we're going to have to fill from now on. We'll see how we develop. Just observations.